Broadway's biggest stars and shows, all right here on the Broadway Show. I'm Tamsin Fidel, so let's get going. Broadway openings, well, they don't get any bigger than this. Denzel Washington, Jake Gyllenhaal, they're leading the revival of Othello this spring. We hit the red carpet with the stars opening night.
Shakespeare wrote it, what, 400 years ago? And you have to meet Shakespeare where he lives. He's the best. He's the best writer, you know, and that August Wilson fellow's not that bad either. And the other five, Williams and Albee and those fellows, but Shakespeare's the best, and there's always a challenge and a chance that you take when you approach his throne.
This is an experience that I feel like is lifetime's worth, and the night itself is just an addition to it I never thought would be.
For tickets and more, head over to Broadway.com. The vibrant sounds of Cuba coming alive on Broadway this spring. Buena Vista's Social Club is inspired by the iconic Cuban album from 1997. We hit the red carpet with the stars opening night.
All I can say is I feel beyond blessed. It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. The feeling is unbelievable. To be backstage when it's all happening, on stage when it's happening, the sound, the fullness of it, it is, I mean, chills every night.
It's a part of history. We're being a part of something that made a huge impact on the music world when it debuted. It's amazing. So I think it means so much to bring this color, these rhythms that cross the transatlantic to come here and create what the influence that they've had today on the world of music and jazz and America.
Since I was born in Cuba, this is so great to be able to bring our culture, our music, our way of life in a way to the biggest stage in the world, right? So it's an honor and it's a great responsibility for us to bring this out here.
It's so heartfelt for me because I'm part of a Latin band. My father is Orquesta Antonetti in upstate New York, and so he has his own like band in what you would call a social club and event space. It's really important to me because this is basically part of my blood and part of my system, and so I'm just so grateful that I get to put it on the stage and show everyone a part of myself, a part of the show, and just receive that energy. Yeah.
Oh my God. You know, I was in love with the documentary and the soundtrack for years, and to get to see this on Broadway, this powerful show that's so fun, so everything. It's going to be hard for people not to dance in the aisles, because I was bopping my head ready to jump up and do a salsa move.
There's so much energy that comes back at us, and I have done other shows before, and you receive a positive response, but like the amount of energy and like oomph, I guess, that the audience is giving, like especially the people who know the music, I think like, yeah, it's just really powerful and palpable. Like you can feel it as an actor on stage.
Oh my goodness, it's so beautiful seeing all of the audience members and how we impacted them, and the beautiful, vast, all the races coming in, like white, black, Latino, everybody just saying how it impacted them and their stories, why they loved it so much, and it's awesome.
As Women's History Month comes to a close, we're spotlighting 6 incredible producers, currently ushering in some of the hottest new tickets on Broadway. We caught up with a few of these powerhouse women on the job, from the red carpet to the corner office.
We are at the opening night on the red carpet of Buena Vista Social Club here on Broadway at the Schoenfeld Theater. People don't realize how much work and time it takes to get to this moment.
Here we are at the Marquee Theatre, halfway through tech for Stranger Things, The First Shadow. It's the biggest thing I've ever produced. It's the most technically complex, creatively most ambitious. It's a new play. It's a new work that is still evolving. We're writing, rewriting every single day.
So I was one of those super theater nerds who grew up in the New York area. My very first Broadway show was Yul Brynner's final performance of The King and I. And I was hooked. I was obsessed with Hal Prince. So by the time I was 7, I was like, this guy knows everything. He's creating the world around us. It's reflecting to us. This is what I want to do.
I didn't know that I could be a Broadway producer. I didn't know anyone who worked on Broadway. I didn't even see my first Broadway show till I was 15. I grew up a suburb of Boston, so I'd see all the touring shows that came through Boston. To me, that was Broadway. And then went to college, and when I could sneak away to New York, I'd come see shows. I really fell in love and suddenly understood the magic of Broadway. I found it at a time in my life when I was looking for something more. I was living in New York City. I was working in television news. I had a background in politics. Never in my life did I think there was even a career opportunity for me in Broadway, never mind to be a Broadway producer. And through friends and conversations and taking a chance, eventually started on a path where I had my own company and we were producing shows every year.
I think there's this general conception that producing is just about the money. Producing is so much more than that. And in fact, there's also this misconception that you have to come from wealth. I didn't come from wealth. I worked in the not-for-profit for over 20 years of my career, and I figured out how to marshal resources to support work and artists that I really believed in. I did it because people believed in my vision, in the artist's vision, in the work that we were doing, and that's what producing is.
My day-to-day job of being a Broadway producer is a little bit unusual. I am also producing MJ on the West End, MJ in Hamburg, MJ in Australia, MJ on Broadway, and MJ on tour. So we have 5 companies running simultaneously. And now with Dead Outlaw, that'll be sort of another layer on top of it.
Dead Outlaw was one of those shows where before I went, at least 3 or 4 people said to me, you have to see it. I knew nothing about it. I'd read no reviews, I'd read no coverage. And I went in, it was beguiling, funny, original, wild. The music is sublime.
I had a number of people say to me, oh my goodness, you have to see Dead Outlaw. Oh, Dead Outlaw is so fantastic. I was trying to see every single show on Broadway, for Tony's season, and I kept saying, I do not have time to go see Dead Outlaw. And they were like, you have to go see Dead Outlaw. So I went to see Dead Outlaw, and I was absolutely enthralled. And then I proceeded over the course of the next, week to go see all of these other musicals. And every morning I was still waking up singing the Dead Outlaw songs. And I kept talking about it. And finally my husband said, oh, just go call them and tell them you want to do it. And so I was like, okay, I should do that.
I'm a producer on purpose, and we just opened 2 nights ago, and it was spectacular. Brandon Jacobs Jenkins is one of our most prolific playwrights that we have in American theater today, and it's an honor to be able to work on a show that brings his incredible words to life. Under the direction of Felicia Rashad, with the incredible cast that we have, just all stars in their own right.
We have like this amazing ensemble cast with the Dean on stage every night, but they're coming for whatever reason, and they're leaving completely transformed, as though they actually escaped to the Redwoods, which frankly we all need. We all need an escape. We all need an immersive experience where we're transported to another world, where we just learn that everything actually is okay. We will get through it. We just need to connect, and we need to feel, and we need to be real. That's been the message of Redwood, and it's resonated with a lot of people.
So how did Good Night and Good Luck happen? The play had been kicking around for a while, and then he and his partner Grant decided that they wanted to write it and produce it themselves, and they needed producing partners. So I get a call from our friends at CAA one day, and they say, would you meet with George Clooney? So that happens. It's a really important story for George because his father was a journalist, Murrow is one of his heroes, and he originally wrote it. And it's remarkable to watch him stand in a room and be the leader of this company.
This Gypsy revival landed on my radar thanks to my wonderful partner, Tom Curtihe, who I first started working with on Hadestown. That's how we first met. What got me to say yes was the combination of Audra McDonald and George C. Wolfe. I have been trying to work with George for 20 years, and we had danced around each other quite a bit, but when I realized this was going to be my chance to be able to work with someone with his level of craft and his level of vision, I knew that I couldn't say no.
The best pieces of theatre and the theatres that thrive anywhere in the world are as a result of the word of mouth. People saying, you have to see that. Of course reviews matter, of course influence matter, but the thing that ultimately is the number one is you have to see it.
The only thing that tells you about your show is what happens in the audience that night. They will not lie to you. Only a person who has walked in the door and is getting their playbill and just has read a blurb about it is the only person who's going to tell you what the show actually is.
There is nothing I love more than standing in the back of a theater and watching an audience. You can feel the audience, feel the show, and the gasps at certain plot moments, and the leaping to their feet before the show is over because they are so moved by a performance is the most satisfying gift.
It's really important to kind of just keep charging ahead. Sit at the table, walk through the door, know you can do it. Don't listen to the voices either externally or internally that tell you you're not supposed to be doing that, or you're not allowed to be doing that, or that you can't do that.
It's never too late. I started producing in 2019. It's 2025, and I'm a woman of a certain age, and it's as if I've started a new career completely. It's never too late.
As I've grown up in the industry, call it 20 years ago, I would get really irritated when I was called a female producer. And I would say to journalists or people who were interviewing me, I'd say, please don't gender me. I'm a producer, right? Now, I'm so proud. And I think it's because it's taken me until this moment in the last few years to actually fully appreciate the women that came before me, what influence I can have in women behind me. The single thing that has always driven me as a woman is I belong in this room.
The Broadway Show is back in just a sec. We're celebrating another huge opening night on Broadway. A new musical comedy spy thriller is making mincemeat out of Broadway this spring. It's Operation Mincemeat, based on the real World War II secret mission to mislead the Nazis and win the war. We caught up with the stars at the opening.
It's the story of a bunch of MI5 agents who were tasked with tricking Hitler into moving 100,000 soldiers from where they should be to somewhere they absolutely shouldn't be. And like the idea that Winston Churchill just demanded this magic trick from some low-level MI5 agents is so crazy. And the fact that they did it and the fact that it worked. So I think we really chimed with the idea that a small group of people could go off and do something absolutely crazy. The show is only 5 of us. We've written, 4 of us have written it together. When we started out, we didn't have a lot of money. We directed ourselves, we choreographed ourselves. And I think the drumbeat throughout was that thing of like, a small group of people can do something amazing. And to be able to bring that message first in the West End and now on Broadway is just the honor of my life.
The show is a madcap, fast-paced musical comedy with a lot of multi-rolling. But at its heart, it's about 5 people working very hard to convince a huge number of people of something that isn't true. And you're watching 5 people on stage convince an entire audience that they are 80 different people. And so it's a game that we play with the audience, and we invite you in. And if you're willing to play with us, you can have the best 3 hours of your life.
I barely have words for how wild it is. We got together to write a musical because we thought, hey, that'll be a nice, creative, fun thing to do. And, we want to make something that speaks to audiences in the way that I think only musicals do. Putting music into a story kind of, ignites something in an audience in the way that other theatre doesn't. But we never in our wildest dreams imagined this would be happening.
What I love about Operation Mincemeat is it's the experience, it's what people come away with. People go in expecting, maybe a silly comedy, maybe like a toe-tapping musical, but they leave with some heart. We give them so much. We give them like a fun gang to root for. We give them so much humor, so much pathos, and people come away different. People don't come away. The show doesn't meet people's expectations in a good way.
Broadway has a new First Lady. Emmy nominee Tituss Burgess is Mary Todd in the comedy smash Oh Mary.
Well, as soon as I put the wig on, she's ready to come out. There's nothing I can do. It's like I'm possessed. Like, yeah, so it's just like, it really does feel that way. I'm so hyper aware of her. And she is so ready to be on stage that there's little I can do to calm her down. I've not even thought about the fact that I'm a man playing a woman. I tell you what I've thought about is that I'm black and that Abe is black and that is up against a backdrop in a world where still to this day we are having to prove the world as queer people, but also people of color, that this is as much our country as, if not more so, than the rest of the world. And so that is what is on my mind, and that is what is downstage center. My queerness kind of is taking a back seat. I hope when people come and see it, they can see the correlation and the absolute ridiculousness of stopping people from being great.
Welcome back to the Broadway Show. I'm Tamsin Fidel. Let's get back to it. Tony Award-winning actor Joanna Gleason back on the New York City stage in the off-Broadway play We Had a World. Let's send it out to Paul Wontorek.
We're here with Joanna Gleason.
Hello.
So good to see you.
Good to see you.
So we are in front of the Longacre Theater. We're going to take a little stroll through your impressive Broadway resume.
I had to look myself up.
So this theater.
This was Joe Egg, wasn't it?
Joe Egg,
Yeah.
or also known as A Day in the Death of Joe Egg, but I guess it was called Joe Egg on
We called
Broadway.
it Joe Egg, and that was the amazing and now lifelong friend Stockard Channing
Yeah.
and Jim Dale.
Yeah.
And it was just spectacular.
Well, let's keep walking. We have a lot more to talk about.
Okay.
So that's fine.
All right.
It's the Barrymore Theater.
The birthplace.
This is where you made your Broadway debut.
This is the birthplace.
Yeah.
Of my Broadway career, 1977. 4 of us on stage, Eileen Graff, Lenny Baker, Jimmy Naughton, and me, and 4 great musicians.
I love my wife. Yeah, the
I
musicians
love
were
my
on
wife.
stage.
They were, led
Yeah.
by Johnny Miller, one
Yeah.
of the great Broadway contractors of music. And Ray Liotta came up to me years ago and said, I worked concessions at the Barrymore, and I saw almost every performance.
Now, Nick and Nora is a legendary flop, is the word people use.
Legendary flop.
It's
yes.
also a musical I love.
Yeah.
I've told you this before.
Yeah.
It's a musical based on the Thin Man movies.
Yes.
And you were in it with Mr. Barry Bostwick.
Barry Bostwick. We were Nick and
and
Nora.
a handsome guy named Chris Sarandon, who
handsome
wound
guy.
up being your husband.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. Well, that's the thing that came out of it. That's a good thing that came out of it. That was the hit. And that was 33 years ago.
Yeah, and you were Nora. And that's an iconic.
I was Nora, and let me just go on the record. In a bad wig, I have to tell you.
Okay, bad wig.
I lost the battle with Arthur Lawrence about everything. About everything.
And it was also a murder mystery.
It's a murder mystery.
Which was weird for a musical. Unusual.
Yeah, unusual.
You didn't get to choose who the murderer was at the end, like Edwin Drood.
No.
Right.
No. We knew, even my dresser, Katie, we'd stand getting ready and she'd be putting a hat on me and we'd be standing looking in the mirror and she'd just go like, we're doomed, you know that? Just like, yeah, we know.
The Al Hirschfeld, another new name. This was the Martin Beck Theater.
The Martin Beck, yes.
And this was the home of now a legendary
Woods.
credit,
Into the
right?
Woods,
Into the
yeah,
Woods.
yeah.
Into the Woods, original cast.
Yeah.
Baker's Wife.
Baker's Wife.
Musical theater royalty, Tony winner.
Tony winner.
What a incredible legacy that created. And I'm sure at the time you don't know what you're getting into.
You don't know that, and you don't know that PBS is going to film it, and generations will see it, and then
I'll watch it every day for a good period of my life.
That's right, and generations of high school kids and college kids are going to do it, and small theaters. It's just, I hear from these people all the time. For now, it's been, 38 years or something like that. It was, I cannot say that I've ever had a more joyous experience.
How does it feel to look back on what you've done on Broadway?
There's been such a gap between the last show I did and now, more than a decade. And so I thought, will anybody ever remember? Is it just you have to look it up to remember? And then I thought, I was part of a time here, a part of a time when lots of us from different shows that were playing at the same time would meet at Orso's between shows on matinee day for lunch. We were like in each other's lives in a way that was the community. This was the campus. I was on campus, for a long, long time.
Want to see more of Paul's interview? Head over to Broadway.com for an extended version. That's all for now. I'll see you next time. I'm Tamsin Fidel, and this is The Broadway Show.